Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of Bxb'S Bits and Bobs. It's been like a month since we did one of these. It's my fault, hands up. I went on vacation, but I am back now. The guys, while I was away, went into some form of summertime hibernation, I'm pretty sure. Well, Richard did. Joel was putting content on the site, but Richard has no excuse. So there you go. How are you guys? Hello, Joel.
Hello, Ben. I'm very well, thank you.
Hello, Richard.
Hello. You going to ask how I am?
Yeah. Oh, how are you, Richard?
Oh, I'm fine.
It was
thanks.
like a group hello. And how are you? But you know, that's fine. You want to feel slighted, Richard? You know, you can pretend there's more against you just than, you know, other than the male pattern baldness. That's fine. You know, because you know, we need to pile things on in our lives just to make ourselves feel more put upon.
That's
and
right.
Get more sympathy. Look at me, I'm stuck with a ginger beard. I mean, like, I don't know, I might take baldness over the ginger beard, frankly. So I don't know. What about, would you make that decision, Richard? How would you choose? Would you go ginger to have hair?
Well, I think the thing is that is a lifestyle choice for you, not so much for me.
It's not a choice because if I don't have a ginger beard, I look about 14. So it's either. To be honest, I haven't tried that in quite a few years. Maybe I should try it. Maybe I'll just realize I look like a horrible 50-year-old man now, and I just look really like ancient and like you are when you're 50, obviously. God, that's just around the corner. But like, you know, maybe I should do it. Maybe I should shave it off. Should I? Hashtag should Ben shave the beard? Vote now on Twitter.
I think you should plait it. Go for some sort of Viking-style plaited beard.
The wife wants to put beads in my beard, like Sheamus from Wrestling, Richard.
Do it.
Now that is an idea. Do that.
Well, I will. I say this: if we all get into streaming more, you know, and like on-camera streaming, because you know we'll talk about that. But we experimented with some streaming this week for Marvel Heroes and Mega. But if I do that more, maybe I will have strange physical affectations to keep people's attention. Yeah, maybe that's an option.
You could pull that off. I'll be Cesaro.
Only if you wear a quick tearaway suit. Deal?
Fine.
Deal? Cool. Neither of us get in shape though, because that would just ruin the illusion. So I'll be fat Sheamus and you can be, I was gonna say bald Cesaro, but he's already bald.
That's why I said it.
Yeah. Anyway, I haven't watched wrestling in like 6 months, so I don't think I'm gonna talk about that. I haven't watched pay-per-view in ages, Richard. I don't know if you've been keeping up to date, but all I know is Alberto Del Rio likes to beat women, namely Paige. That's the only wrestling news I can tell anybody at the moment. So that's pleasant, isn't it?
I've not heard that news, but neither of them are wrestling, are they anymore?
Not for the WWEs, no. But Del Rio was he was the champ at TNA, and then had it stripped from him due to beating up Paige.
Oh,
so that, you know, keeping it classy in Wrestletown. I don't know. I can tell other wrestling news. Seth Rollins is on the cover for the new WWE game.
Yeah, and I saw him pimping out the Switch version just yesterday. For
some reason, I always get excited about them, and it's not that far away. That's October, I think. So yeah, I'm sure it'll suck like the last one did. But hey, I need to check out that Fire Pro Wrestling game though. I know Rob was crazy for it, so let's give that a go.
Yeah.
You heard about that one, Rob? Have you heard about that one at all, Rich?
I've heard. Let me sort the dog out. He's going mental. I've heard about it. I haven't looked too much into it. Yeah, Rob was like a staple for wrestling games back in the day. I remember he came around my house once with my brother and played wrestling games for, I think, in excess of 24 hours. I think that happened. They certainly came around and watched their height in WWF VHS tapes.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, between that and playing No Mercy on the N64, I think they had wrestling kind of wrapped up. But yeah, I can see why he'd be excited about something like that. So hopefully it's good. The WWE ones, I've played the last couple, and they seem to get worse. Is that? I don't know if that's a regular.
I definitely think the last one was worse than the one before it. Yes, yeah. And that's the main reason I get sworn at on YouTube. that one review is the main reason. It's always in the comments for that. F this, S this, C this. Oh, delete block report. Delete block report. And that's generally how I deal with those ones. Joel, any wrestling news from your side of the world?
No. Me and my wife have been keeping things quite normal.
But who's to say normal? Perhaps that's abnormal. At least in the company you seem to keep, Joel.
No role play in the past month.
We have our books of the show notes here before we get into the myriad of little games we've been playing. We've been playing all the games it seemed in the last month. But before we get into that, we've all been watching stuff on services and in cinemas and things like that. Richard, you've got Baby Driver here. I missed Baby Driver while I was away. I think it's too many films, man. It's like War of the Planet of the Apes is out now, and there's something every week. I can't go back. It's like, there's no time. So I'll probably wait for that one on Blu-ray. But do you rate it? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, you've got a cinema pass, haven't you?
I do, but I don't live that close. I have to drive out there and stuff, and it's a bit of an effort. And yeah, anyway, I've got excuses for days. Richard, just tell me about Baby Driver.
It's great. I don't know if you're a fan of Edgar Wright, but I kind of love everything he does.
I'd have said I was, and then he made The World's End.
Yeah, that is
garbage.
The nadir of his career, certainly.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. But this is an uptick. It's totally back on track for what you expect of Edgar Wright. It's funny. It's got the visual flair of an Edgar Wright film. The way that every shot is shot, every line is
written.
It just feels so comic booky, but in a way it doesn't feel fake or unrelatable.
The parallels I've heard with this is with Scott Pilgrim. I've heard people comparing the two a bit in tone and stuff.
It kind of is like Scott Pilgrim, obviously without the video game visual special effecty stuff. But in terms of tone, the way it just the real selling point for Edgar Wright and this film is the way that he weaves it into the soundtrack. The entire thing is built around the soundtrack to the point that I'd almost call it a musical with no singing in it.
Okay.
And how that works, I don't know, but it certainly does. Every scene flows rhythmically. The acting, I think they had wires on while they were acting so they could hear the soundtrack as they were working. And they acted in time with the soundtrack. And it comes across in every single scene. Everything is rhythmic. And it feels like, the best feeling of rhythm action games, except you're watching it in the cinema.
That sounds really curious. Yeah, as an experiment and stuff, as in filmmaking, I'm definitely going to check it out. However, it's like I'm looking at it and I'm going, I could probably get the same experience from that at home. So,
not sure. I think because it works so hard to be this bombastic, big, brash experience, certainly with the sound, probably more so than the visuals, you need it big and loud. And in the cinema, it totally delivered. I'll certainly watch it again at home, but I'm glad I saw it in the cinema. And all those other movies that you mentioned coming out, want to see them just as much. But I think this was my first choice because it looks like one of those films that kind of gets sidelined for the reasons you said. I mean, it doesn't look like it might be one of those big blockbuster movies, but that's kind of the reason I wanted to give it some time, especially after Scott Pilgrim kind of bombing. This needed some support, and I knew it was going to be good from what people were talking about. So get it watched if you haven't already.
I'll try. I will make every effort because I like directors that are auteurs, that have a style, that are definable and recognizable. Be it, it's the same thing for me with comic books and any form of medium. If you can look at something and go, that's a X by a Y, and then it's like, because so much stuff nowadays is generic, nostalgia-driven bullshit, that it's kind of nice that there are people making things that are truly original and fresh and exciting, and they should be supported, like you said, in the cinema.
It is totally that. It's a pure Edgar Wright movie because he made this off the back of coming off the Ant-Man project, which I think was quite a painful experience for him, having written the script and was planned to direct, bombed out of that project and went straight into this as something that he'd wanted to do at the beginning of his career. I think there was a music video he did that was quite similar to this. And he's come back with quite a personal vision of a movie that he wants to make. And I think the word auteur is correct in this case, it's exactly the movie that he would want to make.
Awesome.
Any compromise. Very good.
It's interesting because we're talking about the Edgar Wright there and stuff, and how he's got a lot of video game inspired sort of processes and filmmaking. And to be honest, I've been watching movies recently, and you see it more and more. Like John Wick 2 is so heavily video game influenced. Yeah. It's unreal. Yeah. It's like watching a first person shooter at times in that, and almost to its detriment, like almost. I think he just about gets away with it. But the reason I bring up the video game connection is because Joel has been watching a straight up video game TV animated series, haven't you?
Yeah, this week Netflix launched their animated series based on Castlevania. So I sat down and watched it. It's only 4 episodes long, single series, each episode about 25 minutes. And I thoroughly actually enjoyed it. It's I think the animation's really good. Really enjoyed watching it. It's got its own very unique style. It's kind of a bit gory, which I find is kind of befitting of the Castlevania atmosphere and things. But yeah, it tells the story. It's kind of set around the Castlevania 3 game. So for those who are familiar with the story of the series, it chronicles Trevor Belmont.
Brilliant name.
Obviously fighting Dracula because it's Castlevania, and it's the first series. There's going to be a second series, the third series. So this is just it getting started. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend anyone gives it a try and see what they think.
I've tried the first episode, and I'm not pulled in yet. I was quite disappointed. Does it pick up?
Well, all right. I watched it, and yeah, I didn't think the first episode was the strongest, but yeah, I think it does pick up slightly.
I watched the first episode, Richard, as well, and how can you not be drawn in by Dracula crying tears of blood? Isn't that like so brilliantly emo-y, over the top Castlevania-ness? How can you not just love how ridiculous that is?
It is ridiculous, but I don't think it's quite ridiculous enough to pull it off. It feels a bit wishy-washy in how it goes for the tone that it does. There
was one other big element that attracted me for my comic book nerd side of things, is that it's written by Warren Ellis, who is probably my all-time favorite comic book writer. He has literally written like 80% of my top 10 comic books. That man, he could do no wrong in his writing in comic books. So to see his credit, though, executive producer and written by, I was like, I had no idea he was on it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to pay more attention now.
The writing's quite bad, though. I mean, I like the animation. That's fine.
I think it's very in fitting with the universe. I mean, it's very Castlevania. And I think it's not trying to be something else. It's trying to be that. Yeah. So I think it succeeds in what it's trying to do. But I can sort of agree. It's melodramatic. It's quite overwrought. It's silly, but I think it's cool to see. This is the guy. I think is it Ravi Shankar, the creative force behind this, is the guy who did the Power Rangers. Did you see that live action Power Rangers short before the film came out a while back? That had the gritty, futuristic reboot of the Power Rangers sort of franchise. He did that. And he is all about kind of like over the top melodrama and style and action, maybe over the actual kind of like characters, really. Which has its place, which can be entertaining. Like I say, I point back to John Wick and stuff like that. I mean, that's all style over substance, or any Luc Besson movie ever made.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So there's plenty of.
I'll go back and watch the other episodes. I'm sure I'd get something out of them. I just found it a little bit disappointing, especially as someone who was really into anime when it had its proper popular spell in the 90s. And
you were really into anime?
Yeah, like I bought nearly everything that came out.
I'm sorry, Richard. I'm sorry, Richard. I'm letting you go. I'm just going to kick in from the chat now, Joel. We don't have anime people at Bxb'S. I'm sorry. It's just you've got to have a line: pedophiles and anime fans, which are kind of the same thing. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Rich. Time to let you go. Who knew you had such a dark, twisted, horrible, horrible past, Rich? I had no idea.
You work in a comic book store.
Yes, and don't you think I often spit on those people? Come on. You know what's going on. But fair play. I didn't know about that about you. And I'm going to segue me into another Netflix show now. Richard, have you not watched Glow yet?
No. Wrestling women, isn't it?
It's brilliant. And I mean, it's not just brilliant because it's wrestling women, which are pretty fucking brilliant. It's brilliant because it's an amazing ensemble cast. Loads of great performances. You will love the characters like the director and the producer on this thing. And the fact that it's based off like real events that really happened in the 1980s in LA. It is fabulous, mate. They're short, half-hour episodes, only 10 of them. You'll fly through it. It's funny, it's touching, and it's wrestling. It's just... You know, and Alison Brie, who I just loved from Community and things like that, it's a fantastic. Yeah, it makes Orange is the New Black look really shit, for example. I'm not a big fan of that anyway. But no, Glow, such a high recommendation for me. I can't believe you've not watched it. I can't believe that.
I intend to. I mean,
sit down with your wife and watch that. You both will get a real kick out of it, man. Like,
I think this is the thing. It looks like the sort of thing that my wife should watch as well as a fellow wrestling fan.
Definitely,
that's something we'll watch together.
Just
fine, man.
Oh, amen, brother. I feel you on that one. I feel like every day should be sort of taken up to 30 hours just so we can get through the week. Like there's too much stuff to watch. There's too much stuff to play. There's too much stuff to read. There's too much, and then there's work on top of all of that, which just sucks. Then we should all quit our jobs and just do the things we enjoy. You know, socialist utopia for the win.
One of the Tory red lines under Brexit anyway. The days changed to 30 hours. So
30 days is also plausible.
30 days, yeah.
And I've lost him.
Oh no, Ben got cut off.
Nope, there he is. He's back.
Am I back?
He's back.
Did I disappear there? It did look like it froze up. Sorry about this, guys. We are having some technical problems on this record for some reason. I might actually quit out and come back in a bit when I get you guys talking about something different, which you don't need me for, which is like PSVR, for example, because I know you guys are both going to discuss that. But I just wanted to mention I saw Spider-Man Homecoming. That is a film I did get a chance to go to see in the cinema by myself because my wife absolutely despises Spider-Man. And that's fair enough. I can see why based on his previous movies. Are either of you interested in Spider-Man?
Totally, yes.
Yeah?
My wife loves Spider-Man.
Okay, no spoilers then. That's fair. I'll keep it clean. I enjoyed it. It is the best Spider-Man film yet. However, they try way too hard to fit it into the MCU. There are scenes that feel ridiculously superfluous to any Spider-Man story that they've just inserted to make you go, oh yeah, I remember that thing from that other Marvel movie, cool, like that. And it's just fucking painful at times for that. But once the third act kicks off, there's a big character reveal, and once they let the film be a Spider-Man movie and stand on its own 2 feet as a Spider-Man movie, it's really, really good fun. It suffers from the same problem all superhero films have as well in the third act, which is stupidly large, hard to follow CGI fight scene. Which is just, they all do it. They all do it. Some do it better than others. I'd say this is in the middle. This one's in the middle. But yeah, you'll enjoy it if you like Spider-Man. Absolutely. But it does have, it's not perfect. And I'm kind of like reading some of the coverage of it going, what film did you guys go and watch? Like, I don't, you know, you slate Wonder Woman for these things. And then when they do the same problems happen in Spider-Man, you kind of ignore them. And it's just the weird Marvel bias that seems to be in popular culture and coverage, where it's like
male bias.
No, I think it's biased towards Marvel films because DC is getting a real hard like kicking. Like everything they do is wrong.
Well, what's wrong with Wonder Woman?
Well, a lot of people were really heavy on that third act, the CGI finale to Wonder Woman. Like there was a lot of criticism of that, and yet I've read very little of the same thing for Spider-Man, which is worse in the final act, I think, than Wonder Woman was. At least you could work out what the fuck was going on in Wonder Woman, even if it was a bit, maybe a bit dull in places. I
thought it was fine.
You know, well, it's better than fine. They're both good movies. They're both good movies.
It's odd to hear you complain about the Marvel Universe stuff because that's kind of the point, isn't it? Isn't that what the Homecoming moniker is about? He's finally back in the Marvel stable. When
you see it, you'll probably see what I mean. I mean, in the previous Marvel movies, the connections to the wider universe, except for the big Avengers movies, the big tentpole ones, are usually more subtle. They're usually incidental. In this, it feels like they have been very, very specific to write one a cameo there, a pointless scene, whole reams of exposition, you know. Like, for example, the way the Netflix stuff, for example, is connected to the wider universe in New York, they don't really bang on about the incident that much, do they? They don't really go on about, you know, the alien invasion every 5 minutes. It comes up a few times.
Yeah.
But in Spider-Man, it comes up like all the time. And it's just a bit jarring. There is a particular scene with Happy Hogan where he's packing up a plane and he lists the contents of the plane. It's just him, and he's just walking. It's a green screen sort of scene, you can tell. And he just lists all these things, and they're all just references to previous films. And it's just like, that's so fucking forced. You know, that is weirdly unnecessary. Yeah, and in complete inverse to, you know, talk about Baby Driver, I don't know the name of the director of this Spider-Man film. I suspect nobody ever will know the name of the director of this Spider-Man film, because for all intents and purposes, there was no director of this film. Do you know what I mean? It's just so studio. It is so much Marvel, like triumphantly saying we've got Spider-Man, that it could have been made by literally anyone. So
kind of why Edgar Wright dropped out of Ant-Man, I guess. For
I
the same sort of reasons.
Suspect exactly why. Yeah. But it's still a lot of fun. I'm talking about as a comic book nerd perspective. It just, I don't think maybe it's as great as some people are saying it is. It's definitely not. But it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. I'm still very excited about Thor. Thor is going to be amazing. Hype for Thor. Right.
Thor, is that this year?
Yes. I couldn't tell you exactly which month, but it's before Justice League, which I think is like later on in the year. It's the end of the summer. And that's actually been directed by an auteur. That's being directed by the guy who did Hunt for the Wilder People, What They Do in the Shadows. You know, I couldn't tell you his name because it's New Zealandish, and I'm sure I would get it horribly wrong. It's like something like Taika Waititi or something like that.
You shouldn't have tried it.
No, I should have tried it, shouldn't I? I always come across as so damn racist in these podcasts. God damn it! I've done it again. Sin bin Ben. 5 minutes in the sin bin. Bad Ben. Should we talk about some video games?
Yeah, go on.
Because we've got a few, haven't we? We've got a couple. Joel's just like, please God, because he's going to say something else, and he won't be able to take that one back. Right, so we've all been playing loads of games. Richard, as it's probably really fresh in your mind, because you're writing the review like right now.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about Dragon Bros? Is it Bros or Brothers? It's Bros, isn't it?
Well, what's the etiquette? I think since the 80s, you're allowed to say Bros, aren't you? Technically, it's Brothers, but
bro, dude, bro,
or Bros.
Bros could be Bros. Dragon Bros. The other brother. I suppose it could be. But what is this? Stop talking about the names of what the game is.
Instead of grammar,
please.
should we talk about the game?
Yeah, why not?
Right,
Crazy.
Dragon Bros. That's the one I'm going to go with. Is a 2D retro run and gun platform thing, and it's got two dragons in it, which are bros. So that's where the name comes from. So you choose a dragon bro, and you have a gun, which is weird because you'd think dragons would not need a gun, but there we are. So dragon has a gun, he shoots stuff, gets to the end of a level, and then you go on to the next level. You also do it in co-op, so you can have two players. That's where the other dragon bro comes in, and you shoot stuff together, and it's fine. That's kind of as excited as I can get about it. It's a game that's pitched as being inspired by Super Time Force, which long-time followers of BXB will know I reviewed quite favorably. I really enjoyed that. That was a game that similarly had pixel art aesthetic, chiptune music, leveraged nostalgia quite heavily, but more as texture than its fundamental substance. Because it kind of built itself around quite an original idea. The time travel mechanic in Super Time Force was its raison d'etre, and it used the nostalgia aspect as just flavor for that, really. Dragon Bros doesn't have that luxury. It kind of riffs on old ideas. More than riffs, it kind of reskins old ideas and doesn't add a lot more. So it's difficult to be excited about it. Aside from the meat of the game, which is those side-scrolling levels where you shoot enemies on your own or with a co-op partner, there are submissions and side missions on a map that you can unlock. Think like Shovel Knight, you know, the map in Shovel Knight where you can go to do main missions and then the submissions that give you a little side quest or something. The side quest missions in this are essentially Pang, that old arcade game from the 90s. Bit of Space Invaders chucked in there as well. And the whole thing has a veneer of Bobble Bobble. So it's really sort of a pastiche of really old 80s and 90s arcade games without anything fresh of itself.
Okay.
So while it works, it's kind of okay, but I'm not sure what it's for. It doesn't bring anything new, and it just feels like it's going through the motions, really. It kind of it does drag on.
Just sounds just another one of those games, like, you know,
Yeah.
a few things. It's okay, it's fine, it plays, it's not full of bugs. However, it's not like setting the world on fire with originality or creativity, you know? That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I can't
wrong
say
with
it's bad. It's fine. I think it's functional would be the word. I mean, it does have a few odd quirks. There was a couple of times where I would die at the end of a level, but I'd done just enough to win anyway. So you get this odd feeling of, you know, failure mixed with success. It kind of lets you off. So, I don't know. It doesn't feel like it's that polished. It just kind of does what it has to do, and then it's out of there, you know. So,
Okay, that's fine.
Fine, but quickly forgettable.
Like you in bed.
You would not know.
Wouldn't I, Richard? I got you very drunk that night. Very drunk.
Yeah.
Joel, I love it. I love Joel's reaction is just uncomfortable laughter. Why am I here for these jokes?
Why wasn't I there?
It was a joke. Right,
no, I'm sorry. We'd have to live stream that one. That one, everyone's gonna need to see that threesome. Oh yeah, you know it. I'm gonna talk about a game now because I want to. Richard, do you remember when I reviewed Meet the Robinsons, the video game from Xbox?
How long ago was that?
2008.
Yeah, you got no chance. Yeah.
Well, I remember because it was the last time I reviewed a kids game, like a game, you know, a film tie-in kids game for Xbox. Back in those days, we'd basically review what we were given, wouldn't we? It'd be like, you know, there were so many discs flying around, promo copies for 360 games. You know, whoever the editor was back then, I'm guessing that was still Mike, you know, he'd send it out to us. We'd have a week to turn something around. I remember reviewing this game, having never actually seen the film, which is a difficult experience for a film tie-in game. And this experience has come around again, Richard, yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Because I got a review code out of the blue, unrequested, for Cars 3 Driven to Win. And I thought, hello, this could be shits and gigs. So I downloaded this game. And I kid you not, I looked up the developer, right? Avalanche Software, not Studios, not to be confused with Avalanche Studios. Avalanche Software, and I looked back through their games they've developed, their history. I'm like, I wonder what they've done. And there it is. In 2007, they developed Meet the Robinsons, Richard. So it's the same fucking developer as the last one of these I did nearly 10 years ago, perhaps about 10 years ago, actually. Basically, it was 2007. I'm looking at it right now, not 2008. And that's just fucking spooky. That's weird. That
spooky
hands
to
up.
you, soul crushing for those guys.
I remember when I can't remember the exact score I gave Meet the Robinsons, but it was average. You know, it was in the middle, like 5, 6, something like that. Nothing terrible. You you know, and I can see my review for Cars 3 Driven to Win being very similar, because it's a pretty mediocre. On the surface, like, you'd think it'd be super easy because it's for kids, but it's not. I thought, oh, I'll play it on medium, because that'll be a breeze, won't it? And then I'll bump it up to hard, and it's not really. I'm not winning everything. I'm always in the top 3. I'm like, I'm really shit at video games, aren't I? That must be it.
It's car racing, then, is it?
Yeah,
presumably.
Yeah.
Which
car racing, weird cars with
to
faces.
Get right, then you know.
Well, Meet the Robinsons was like a 3D platformer.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'd think this would be very cut and paste kind of simple development. I'm sure Adam, if he's listening right now, is twisting hard wherever he is when he says it's simple to make a kart race. So it probably isn't simple, is it, Rich? Let's be honest.
Well, I wouldn't say it's simple, but the worst driving game is probably not as bad as the worst platformer. Certainly 3D platformer.
Oh, I've played some bad driving games, but no, yeah, okay. But there was more to this than just like going around the circuit. You know, you've got battle modes, you've got various, like, you can do things where you flick the stick and you'll be driving backwards, and you have to, like, you get more like turbo boost for being able to successfully do that. You can drive on 2 wheels, and again, that gives you more benefits. You can jump because it's the Cars universe. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I originally tried to give this to Joel because I know he's got a young child, and I thought maybe they're into cars. Maybe there'd be some kind of relevance, but no, they've never seen it. So I struck out on that one. Whether or not this is going to be a proper review or something a little bit different, I suspect a bit different, my coverage, because I really have no basis to review this on, having never seen the films or played, I'm guessing, the previous 2 Cars video games. There must have been other Cars video games.
I think there has. They've been in the Disney Infinity thing as well, haven't they?
Let me just give you some stats on this though, right? 8 gigabytes download, $49.99 price tag, and I'm just like, they want 50 quid for this game, a film tie-in for children in 2017, where you could go on iOS and probably get that tie-in on there for 99p or free. It's just like, this is kind of nuts, but it's not terrible, but I don't know. Very strange.
That's a good point, that, because these kind of throwaway, aren't they?
It's basically shovelware.
Yeah, people don't buy them for the game; they buy them for the name. If you're going to get the name on iOS for nothing, then why not?
Yeah,
there must be a diminishing market for this sort of thing on consoles.
I'm just curious. You shouldn't get hung up on a game being obviously only 8 gigabytes, warranting its price tag. Is it actually short on content in other ways?
I'm not getting hung up, but I just wanted to give some, like, a humorous numbers, like very small gigabytes for very large price. So no, I'm not getting hung up on that. But what I'm kind of saying by that as well is that it doesn't look exactly current gen. The game kind of screams last generation, and I'm curious to see. I didn't look, but I'm wondering if it's out on things like, now, what other platforms could it be on now? Actually, they don't make games for anything else now, do they? So I don't know. It just seems low res. Just seems like it's not very pretty. I mean, like
it's designed to fit on Switch as well as everything else. Maybe
it's a Switch thing. Maybe, haven't really thought of that. Yeah, but there's so few games on Switch. Yeah. Yeah, it could be that. But yeah, it's just it seems okay. It's slightly weirdly laid out, like the way you so you have like a main menu when you first start the game, and you can select, you know, race, battle, blah blah blah. But when you finish a race, it gives you a sub menu where you can just select all of that from there, and therefore never see the main menu, in which loads of UI design and nice graphics have been put into. So you can literally just go from race to race to race to race, or battle to battle to battle, or championship to championship, or stunt thing to stunt thing to stunt thing, and never see the main menu that clearly a lot of effort and time went into making. Maybe is that a thing like for kids, because, you know, like watching a box set on Netflix or something, they can just next one, and therefore they never have to like really like break the flow of ADD. I don't. Any ideas why they would do that? It seems odd that it doesn't ever push you back to the menu unless you want to.
It's just to keep you in the game quite quickly, I would argue, isn't it? The crux of the gameplay is going to be the races itself. So why you don't want to waste people's time through the menus? You remember when we had this conversation about one of my pet hates in Mass Effect Andromeda was the fact that when you wanted to travel to another planet, it did that huge zoom out and zoom. Extremely pretty looking. And the first few times you saw the planetary transition, it was great. But in the end, I was just like, look, I'm sick of this. I want to be able to skip it. And sure enough, they patched that in, which was great.
But that's kind of like the inverse, isn't it? Because you could almost argue that they're making you watch this because so much time and effort went into creating these visuals that where they've done all this UI design and these nice visuals for the main menu, but then they give you the option to never see them.
But that's what people want. The Mass Effect
is it what children?
Mass Effect did the inverse, and people complained about it, so hence they patched it. Yeah, and kids' attention span's very short, so keeping them in the game as quickly as possible.
I'm just thinking of this poor developer at Avalanche Studios. He spent all that time. Spent all that effort making everything look lovely. The art, the art guy working with the guy doing the UI design, and he's working with the programmer, and then nobody ever sees it. I just feel bad for them. I just want to give him a hug. Just like, sorry, you're working on Cars 3.
You know what? But you should make him something and post it to him. He'd appreciate it.
Like craft, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make
or whatever it is.
I'm gonna sculpt Lightning McQueen. That's a character from Cars. I've learned. I'm gonna sculpt that out of a block of butter, and then I'm going to send him the butter.
No. Commission a portrait of you admiring the menu that no one sees, and then send it to him.
Do you think Jim will paint that? Do you think I'll get Jim to paint that? What do you think? I want a picture of me admiring the Cars UI, Cars 3 Driven to Win UI. Probably be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Get out. Right. So that's my strange experience from yesterday. I'm really trying to work out what I'm going to do with that game, but who knows? Maybe not a lot, maybe something. Depends how drunk I get, maybe next weekend or something. So
Driven to drink.
Joel, because we've both been playing this, and I think Richard should get his arse in gear and join us in playing this as well.
What's that?
Why don't you talk about the game that has been dominating not just my life, not just your life, but even Mark's life? So go ahead.
Marvel Heroes Omega. So this is launched now. It's available. So we did a preview of this just over a month ago. Played a bit of a closed-in open beta session on the PS4. It's now launched on both Xbox One and PS4. And yeah, if playing it with friends, it's fantastic. It's just great fun. The game plays very much like Diablo, and it's all about just killing stuff, grinding, getting better loot, and it's got Marvel superheroes. It's all set in a comic book universe. It's just it's fantastically good fun. It's crazy, it's hectic. Sometimes it just gets so extreme you just have no idea what's going on. Your screen is absolutely full of heroes, random enemies, bosses, and then there's just all manner of explosions and light, and you can't even really tell if you're hitting anybody or who you're hitting anymore. It's just insane at times. Suddenly you'll see an explosion of loot and experience globes appear and stuff, so you realize someone just died. It keeps going. In fact, it's really hard to realize when you die because you keep forgetting to look at your health bar, and suddenly you just get a notice on the screen saying, oh, do you wish to respawn, or do you want to wait for someone to revive you? It's great. It's just really good fun. We've been really enjoying it so far. And the best of all, it's free. You can just go and download the game now. You run through the tutorial. There is about 38 heroes you can pick from. The game will give you enough initial money to choose from what they call the classic set. So and then from there you can play the entire game. There's virtually nothing that you're priced out of except for some cosmetic items and the other heroes. Or if you want, you can actually grind the currency internally in the game to get that kind of stuff. It's brilliant. You've got nothing to lose by giving it a try and seeing if it's your style of game or not. It's just great. And if you've got friends as well, it's just so easy to partner up and get social with them on this game and just hack away. I'm loving it. So yeah, really good. Definite recommendation.
Yeah, Richard, you need to get in on that with us. Absolutely. It's a great chill out game. It's so good.
I just started the install. You're playing it on Xbox, yeah?
That's right. Yeah. Well, me and Joel have got options to play on both. We could actually play on PS4 as well, but I think primarily I'm going to make the Xbox One my primary platform for it. Yeah, so definitely. Oh, I was just experimenting with Blade, right? the last few days, and he's got this interesting mechanic where, because he's this vampire that's trying to not turn into a bad blood-sucking vampire all the time, he has to take this thing, elixir. So about every minute, your screen will get like red, crackly, like blood veins show up on it, where the vampirism is trying to take over and stuff. And you have to hit X and take your elixir. But what that does is it gives you like a massive, so if your health's low, it will buff your health up. It will give you an attack bonus for 3 seconds and other bonuses for 3 seconds as well. So it's just like, it's so cool that like that character has this completely different mechanic to all the others, and he's also like super fun to play, like really powerful, loads of cool attacks. So yeah, I've just discovered how awesome Blade is. I mean, and that's the thing. We're talking about these 38 characters. I mean, they're going to bring in more, but there is a real sense of difference between them as well. You know, some of them based because of what kind of character they are. A basic melee character like Iron Fist will be like another basic melee character or something, you know, or Nova will have similar attacks to Iron Man because they both use energy weapons and things like that. But there is still loads of variety, and they've really thought about how to represent these Marvel characters in this sort of Diablo-esque action RPG. I've had fun in groups like with Joel and Mark. Easy as all hell to party up, but also when you're by yourself, stick on some music, put on a podcast, go and do some of the patrols and just smash some enemies and get some loot. Super good. Great for unwinding at the end of the day and switching off your brain, you know? Really, really good fun for that as well. And that's weird this is why games are so cool, because you've got those like super interactive, deep narrative experiences which need 100% of your concentration. And then you've got the popcorn games where you can just literally just veg out and just chill and just, you know, forget about shit for an hour or two. And this is definitely one of those, which is great. I know we've talked about it before, so we won't stay on it too long. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's free. Check it out, for Christ's sake. Do it.
You've got nothing to lose. It's free. And yeah, Rich, you need to join us on Monday night, and you can be our fourth man for the stream, live stream.
Yeah, I think we've lost Mark for a couple of weeks because he's filming. But
we'll still be the trio. Yeah,
Richard can fill his hole.
Not on film.
Mark probably wouldn't even say no, would he, Joel?
No. Mark would totally be up for that.
Yes, frighteningly so. Okay, I'm going to talk about a game here I've been playing recently as well. The reason I'm doing these two games is because the other games I've got on my list I played like 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to have to try and remember them a bit. But Serial Cleaner just came out by Curve Digital, and that's the publisher, and I can't remember the developer off the top of my head. They're a small European developer of some kind. But anyway, Serial Cleaner is a action stealth game, and it's set in the 1970s, so mustaches and style everywhere. And it's set in the 70s. It's got amazing soundtrack, really distinct visual style, this sort of 2D art style. And you're in this game, you go around as the cleaner who is called in after there's been a murder or a massacre or a lot of dead bodies usually. And your job is to go and dispose of the bodies, clean up the blood, pick up the evidence and hide it from the police. Which is, I think, a really cool kind of unique take on the stealth game, because you're doing this while there are like police or security forces of some kind on the scene. And I think it's a lot of fun. The concept is great. However, the one problem I'm having is because I suck at games, guys. This is becoming a recurring issue for me. Basically, you get caught once, you have to restart the level, right? So the levels are quite small, but they're not tiny. If you've got multiple bodies and you have to like clean up X amount of the blood that's on the scene, you know, when you've done 90% of the tasks, to then get caught and have to do it all again, you know, another 10-minute playthrough or whatever of that level, especially if you get stuck on a hard one like I was last night, it can be quite frustrating. So I feel like maybe the difficulty spike in this game is a little too high. Like, it gives you a couple of easy levels to start with, but then straight away after that, things get hard, and they get pretty hard very fast. So that's a little bit of a shame, because I think the game is so wonderfully stylistic with the great music and the great presentation that, you know, to then bounce off of that difficulty, it's a little bit disappointing. But then again, I'm not great at video games.
Looks really nice.
It does, yeah. It's has anybody got the developer in front of them so I can give them the credit?
They're called iFun for All.
iFun for All, okay.
Yeah, published by Curve Digital.
Yeah,
but yeah, it looks lovely. It's kind of like a child's picture book that they've had a nosebleed on.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that description. That's fantastic. Oh wow, yeah, that is a really good way of describing it. I love that. Yeah, and the music, which you obviously can't get from the pictures, is a wonderful original soundtrack, very evocative of the era. The dialogue's well written as well, which is all like, you know, coming up in text boxes and stuff like that. It's funny to reverent. There's also a selection of bonus missions, which are all based off like classic movies. I haven't tried them out yet, but I know one of them is Alien and stuff like that. So I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Am I cleaning up the bodies on the Nostromo while the Xenomorph tries to kill me? I mean, I'm going to have to give that a go. I mean, that sounds insane. So yeah, I think it's a really fun concept. Like I say, it might just be a little bit too tough, but I'm going to persevere for a bit, keep hammering away, and see if I can get over the hump, as it were, in the difficulty. I'm also notoriously impatient. So when it comes to stealth games, I'm just bad usually, because I just want to rush through everything, and it's just like, show me the next level. I want the next level. But yeah, seems really cool. Joel, game I actually want to know more about from you, because the reason I passed it to you, because I was very interested in this game myself, but I was like, I don't know if I could get the people together to play it. So I sent you Crawl, which seems like it's got a really cool concept. I know it was a few weeks ago, but if you can still remember it, please regale us.
No, this is actually a really, really good idea of a game. So it's kind of a sort of top-down miniature jungle dungeon crawler, but it's designed for couch co-op. The real game's Achilles heel is that it has no online multiplayer, which is really sad. But anyway, let me describe a bit more about the game itself. So you can play it with bots, and the first scene in the game literally starts with you and the other players, whether they be bots or some friends you've got on the couch, and you start in this room of the dungeon, and the first thing you have to do is duel to the death until one of you's left standing. And this is how the game basically, there's two teams in the game. There's the team who are dead and the team who's alive. Now, the team who's alive is only one player, and the team who's dead is everybody else. And so when you're on the dead team, you've then become a ghost, and your objective is to kill the player again. So the person who lands the death blow on the living player takes their place. They become on the living team, and the other player goes back to the dead team. And it's crazy. So you go through these dungeons, and in different rooms there's sort of little traps, and as a ghost you can possess a trap to use it. So one of them might be like an arrow shooting trap, or a sort of a torch that you can shoot flames out of, or shoot things across the floor. They're sort of statues, so you can possess a statue and become a monster and then go and attack the living player. And there are also pentagrams on the floor that allow you to when you take over a pentagram, you can spawn as a monster. Now, when you start the game, you choose a deck of cards, basically, or not per se a deck of cards. You choose your god you worship, and whichever god you choose gives you what I call a deck of cards. It gives you basically 3 different types of monster that you can level up, and when you spawn in it, you randomly become one of these monsters. And it's just insane. So the living player has to go around, and they're trying to find gold. They need to you need to get new items and equipment from the shop, and basically you need to reach level 10 as the living player. And when you reach level 10, you can use the portal to travel to the final the dungeon's final boss. So when you battle the dungeon's final boss, and then the boss that you fight depends on which god you chose to worship at the start. So there's about I think there's about 10 potential different bosses you can battle, and when you're battling this boss, a certain AI component controls a bit of the boss, but then most of them have lots of tentacles or arms and things, and you can literally, as the dead people possess these tentacles and still hound the living player as they're trying to battle the boss. The idea being that if you kill the player whilst they're battling the boss, you all get walked back to the dungeon, and everything just carries on as normal until one of you either kills the boss, or you all get so exhausted and tired that you just basically give up. And it's great. It's a very simple concept. It's very quick. The dungeon's sort of randomly generated rooms, and you go through floors. Each floor has a shop and a few different rooms to look around in and stuff, but it's very quick. It flows very quickly. It won't take you get long to level up to level 10. As the living player levels up, the dead players also earn experience points, which when you reach the end of a level, you can level up your monsters, so you can upgrade them, evolve them, become tougher. So everyone kind of evolves in sequence. So the living player never gets too strong because the dead team always have monsters that are in balance. Yeah, it's just great. I wish that I had, I had got a group of friends around to play this, because this is the perfect sort of game that's very quick. You can sit down on your sofa, in an evening for a couple of hours, you know, hammer out a few rounds, everyone have a good laugh. There's so much backstabbing and betrayal and that kind of aspect of things that I love. Yeah, it's really, really great. And like I say, I gave it 4 stars, and it would have been if you could play this online, which I think would mean that it's just become so much accessible for a lot more people. It would have been a 5-star for sure. It looks pretty. It's got nice soundtrack, but and they've got some nice little touches, the tutorial and a little bit of narration in there and things. But yeah, overall, it's just got great gameplay. I thought it was brilliantly fun. Very good social gameplay.
It does look awesome. Yeah, I mean, I saw people playing it on a stream, God, like a year ago on PC, and I was like, that would be so much fun to play in a group. But as is often the problem with a lot of these really cool like couch co-op games, because putting online into a game is so difficult. You know, to sort out all that net code and stuff, it's like you need a team usually like twice the size of what these developers usually have to be able to actually pull that off. So I can understand why it's not there. But yeah, God, it would be a must play, wouldn't it? By the sounds of things, if that was in there.
I really hope that they can possibly patch the matchmaking in, because that would just make it. I think
mean,
they've got a winning recipe there. It's really good.
There any talk of that? Have you heard anything about it?
No,
I just pie in the sky.
Pie in the skying here. I haven't done any research, but it's mostly just I'm hoping for myself, because sometimes when you just want to play a quick 20-minute game, you know, this would be the great kind of game to play. It's kind of nuts, and it's very fast, and it's just good fun.
That sounds really cool. That does sound really, really cool. I'm gonna quickly talk about a game before I throw over to you guys to go into the PSVR segment, where I just sit here being all jealous. And I'd almost forgotten about this game, because I got this just before I went away, and then I forgot to talk about it on Bonus Babble. And I've just remembered it, and it's definitely worth mentioning, which is Nex Machina, which is the new Housemarque game on PS4. And Nex Machina, do you guys know Housemarque? Do you know who I'm referring to?
Yeah.
So Resogun, Super Stardust, Ultra HD, Super Mega Awesome Remix, or whatever they ended up calling that when it came out for the 6th time on the PlayStation Vita. So those guys, what they did with Resogun specifically is this it's voxels, isn't it? It's like everything blows up into awesome looking voxels. So there's like debris and sort of cubes and bits flying all over the screen in Resogun. Now they've taken that same mechanic, and they've moved it into a more conventional top-down twin stick shooter sort of idea, which is all on this alien planet. I don't know, Earth, could be anywhere really. There's the thing that's made me laugh about the Nex Machina is there's loads of like really great teaser art for this game, which implies some kind of storyline about the machines rising up as technology has got to a point where they've gained intelligence and want to overthrow mankind. None of that's in the game. Not a jot. Not a single bit of exposition or storytelling or anything. But frankly, it's not needed. This game is a pure shooter. So you've got these stages, which have got multiple paths, unlockable elements. As you remember from Resogun, Richard, you're saving humans throughout. You're getting power upgrades and shooting upgrades to your guns and your abilities and your shield and stuff like that. So a lot of similar mechanics, but obviously the plane is now 2D, and you're not 2D, sorry, but it's top down, I should say, and you're moving through a world in a more conventional manner. However, the enemies are more varied than I think they were in Resogun, and the levels are really well designed, because of course there weren't really any level design in Resogun. It was all just sort of on a cylinder for the most part. It's a very pure experience. If you're in the mood for a very pretty, very, very pretty and amazing soundtrack, Richard, you would love the soundtrack, by the way. Definitely your type of music, yes. It's just a very fun experience. The only problem I have is that it's a set progression of 5 or 6 locations with the same level. So every time you play the game, you are going through the same levels. Now, you can obviously do it with different difficulties and different things like that, but there aren't a huge amount of modes. There aren't a huge amount of modifiers for each of these playthroughs, so it can get a little bit repetitive. And what they want you to do at Housemarque here is play the game through on easy first. Get to know the locations. Get to know, the patterns of the enemies and the environments you're going to be fighting them in. Then ratchet up the difficulty and get more and more challenge as you progress up the leaderboard further and further. So I think, it's couch co-op only, I believe. Again, I don't think this has online. I'd have to double check that though. But this wasn't a game I was doing for viewing. I picked this up purely off the back of how much I love Housemarque's previous games. And yeah, it's got a pumping soundtrack. It's a shame it doesn't have any more kind of like, I was really hoping for a kitsch, silly sort of framing device or story beat or something in there based on the artwork and the trailers they'd done for it. But yeah, none of that was in there, sadly. But, you know, even then, the gameplay is very compelling. And, you know, sometimes you just want to do a score chasing kind of game, you know, crawl up those leaderboards. And if you're in the mood for that, if you're hankering for a Geometry Wars type experience, but in a slightly more structured environment, Nex Machina is a cool pick. Yeah.
Housemarque have done online co-op before, haven't they? So it would be not
in what? Not in Resogun, no? No, it is in Resogun. There is multiplayer in Resogun, isn't there?
Alien Nation, Dead Nation were both online co-op.
Am I mixing up my developers here? Question. Anybody?
Well,
nobody.
I've just watched a video on YouTube, but it doesn't say who the dev. It just says that from the team that created Rishogun and you, in collaboration with Eugene Jarvis, comes an intense arcade shooter.
That's the other thing. I mean, that name will either mean something to it or it won't, which is why I didn't really mention Eugene Jarvis. He's made some classic shmups throughout the years and stuff. I'm just looking up Housemarque's wiki because I want to know what else they've made, and if I was talking out of my ass. No, it was Super Stardust. Yeah, okay. I wasn't completely wrong.
Right. Yeah, but they've also done Dead Nation. And
I'd forgotten Alien Nation and Dead Nation. I really enjoy Alien Nation's another game I really like from them actually as well, which I highly recommend picking up on PS4. That's a bit more in the similar vein to this one, I suppose, but it's more open worldy, less structured. Alien Nation, but no, Nex Machina, it's fun. It's good fun. Definitely worth it. I saw a trailer that did this new game, Matterfall. It was at E3. Don't know if you guys remember Matterfall. They showed it briefly at Sony. No.
If I saw the trailer, I'd probably remember it.
2D. This one's 2D side on, with some sort of platforming mechanics as well as the shooting stuff. And they've just got a great visual style.
I remember
really,
it.
I think I heard the name Matterfall as another game that's got fall in the title, and I rolled my eyes so hard that it went over the trailer.
Nicely put. Right, come on then, guys. Geek out hard. Tell me why I need to spend another like 600 quid on a headset, on a camera, on Move controllers, on a plastic peripheral that holds the Move controller so I can feel like a Space Marine in a freaking video game. Because if it's that good, I'll find a way.
I'm going to reserve judgment until Joel tells me what he thinks.
Okay.
Right. So we're going to talk about Farpoint. So I'll start off, but then Richard's going to speak and say his part, and then I'll finish because. Let me. Yeah. All right. No. Let's go. So yeah, I bought a PSVR. I bought one on Amazon Prime Day. It just hit the sweet price mark, and I've kind of wanted one and wanted to dip my toes, and I thought, frick it, I'm doing it. So I ordered it, and it arrived, and I've had it for 2 days. I bought a bundle, so it came with the camera and Farpoint and PSVR worlds, basically. And I also bought the Move controllers to go with it. Richard, talk about Farpoint because I want to hear your answer.
Why are you guys being so cagey and hedging on this? Like,
I want Richard
I'm really
to talk
curious.
about it. I want Richard to talk about it.
Let me be straight about it then. I don't like Farpoint. It's interesting you've just jumped in. So is Farpoint your first experience of VR? Is that what you played first?
No, I played the PSVR Worlds bits first, and I played Farpoint last night for a while.
Okay. I think because I've had VR for a little while longer, I got mine back in November, and I've played a fair amount of what's on offer for PSVR. My expectations for Farpoint were quite high. This is supposed to be something that builds on the VR experience that we've learned since the device came out in October last year. It brings that new gun controller. So expectations are high for something that's even more immersive than we're used to. I found in terms of the technology, it's good. It works. I would even go so far as to say I was impressed by it. The particular feature that really sticks with me is being able to look down the sights of a gun in game physically, and that actually works. So none of this iron sights holding in a button. You just look down the barrel and you get your targeting. It's phenomenally immersive. But that is where it ends for me. I found the game design, the level design, the enemy design, the story, all of it thoroughly underwhelming from what I've played of Farpoint so far. And I haven't finished it because I found it quite boring. But it seems to be level after level of dusty sand bowls, tunnels that lead to a spidery looking boss with smaller spiders on the way, and they kind of just lunge at you, they leap around, and it's just really dull. Everything about it is kind of by the numbers. It feels like assets could have just been dropped in there from some sort of VR game development package, and there's been really no thought put into it beyond the technology of the gun controller and the capture of some of the character cutscenes is quite nice. That's good, but the game itself, I'm not feeling it at all, I'm afraid.
All right.
Did you feel differently?
So no, kind of. I'm gonna kind of agree with you, but for slightly different reasons. The problem I've got with it is that the bundle I've got did not include the aim controller, and
Oops.
you cannot buy the aim controller separately. So I've tried playing it with the Dual Shock, and literally, as you describe, its killer feature literally is, you're holding this gun, you can put it up, you can look, and like you say, looking down that holographic sight, the first time you do it, it's just like, wow, this is really cool, and then I very quickly realized that I don't think you can't really play the game with the DualShock controller. It doesn't work. It's really awkward. Aiming's really hard to get, because you can imagine just trying to lift the controller up to get the sights in the right place and things.
Oh God. Yeah.
So
I haven't tried it, but I can't imagine. There seems to be literally no point in playing it unless you've got the aim controller.
Exactly.
And that was a problem I had when I tried to buy it, because you know what I'm like. I like to get everything digitally. You've got no choice if you buy Farpoint. If you want the gun, you've got to get a disc. So I ended up buying it with a disc, selling the disc, and then buying the download with whatever money I got from it.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, isn't it? But that's what I ended up doing, and it's mad that they make you do that if you want the download, because they do sell the download, and there really is no reason to buy it unless you've got the gun.
Yeah. The thing that annoys me is you can't buy the gun separately at present. Apparently you can in the United States. You can't in the UK, which is frustrating. Now, there are certain bits I like about what I've played of the game so far. I've not played more than about 25 minutes, I would say, just arriving at the first part of the space station on the first level of the planet, basically. The story is kind of interesting from what I've seen so far. There are some beautiful moments where I just like to stand and look up at the sky. It's quite, there's some quite pleasant things to look at so far. But yeah, what I see as the game's killer feature, I can't enjoy or experience like it's supposed to be. And you can't even use, I thought you'd be able to just use the Move controller. So I actually thought that I'd be able to sellotape it into the end of a kitchen roll or something and pretend I've got it. But you can't. It won't work. It won't work with a Move controller, even though conceptually the aim controller is a gun-shaped Move controller. So that's really annoyed me, because the relationship between the game and the controller is so tightly knit. I'm amazed that they actually offered it separately. And in your case with the digital purchase, that is a different angle I hadn't even thought about there. So
it sounds like you'd be buying Rock Band without a plastic guitar.
Yeah, very much so. That's a very good way of describing it. Yeah.
Like, you could do that on a controller, theoretically, and I think in the early Guitar Hero games, you could do that. But they quickly realized, why the fuck would you ever want to do that? So they took it out. But that's really interesting.
He talks about looking around and being impressed with the visual splendor of it, but having played other stuff that just looks loads better on VR, even that was underwhelming. If you're looking for something that looks impressive, just looking around, try Batman or try Robinson the Journey. When you go back to Farpoint, you'll wonder what you were impressed with.
Okay, that's very interesting.
I think from now on, Richard, when you talk about VR games, I want a 1 to 5 rating based on how sick you get. So where is Farpoint on your sickometer?
Farpoint makes me sweat. I haven't been sick.
Makes you sweat. That's a new one. I love it. So, some light heart palpitations. That's like a 1. 2 is like sweating. 3 is like heavy sweating and queasiness. I love it. We have to work this one out for later. What about you, Joel? I mean, as somebody who's just going to the VR space, Richard seems to be more negatively affected by VR than pretty much anyone I've ever spoken to. So where do you stand on this, Joel? Have you been puking yet?
No, I haven't had any problems with motion sickness, but all the games I've played so far, have been kind of extremely short, I would say. So I don't know if I've been playing anything long enough. So far I've played some of the games from PSVR Worlds. So I've done the Ocean Descent, I've done the London Heist, which is fantastic.
Oh, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
The smoking thing.
Yeah.
Breathing out the smoke and then the smoke comes out. That's great.
Yeah. The whole, it's just, I'm just sitting there like this guy's trying to talk to me, but I'm just playing with like the lighter, trying to set fire to stuff and like my cigar and like obviously he's trying to have a serious conversation, but I'm just immersed in this world. Absolutely, yeah, brilliant. I played the Scavengers, I think it was, which is kind of you in a mech and you sort of jump around a bit and things. But no, I haven't had any motion sickness experiences. Oh, sorry, I've also played but downloaded the Resident Evil 7 demo.
Yes.
Yeah, but I haven't had any problems with that. I've even switched the controls to smooth turning, so I seem to be coping all right. But yeah, that again, I was only in that for about 20-25 minutes before I met my end. so
only a 1 on the sickometer for Joel is what we're saying at this point.
I'm on the sweatometer. I'd say I get a bit. I feel my whole forehead gets a little bit sweaty at times under the headband. So
okay. Well, it has been quite warm around here of late. So right, okay. Well, that's PSVR corner. But basically, to surmise, I don't need to spend 600 quid yet. Good to know. Right, we're going to kind of go a little bit into like retro corner now a little bit because all 3 of us, for whatever reason, have been delving into back catalogs to try and finish off games, probably because summer's a bit of a quiet time right now. The last month or so have been bereft of big releases. I'm going to mention one right now. I finally finished off Mafia 3, which is hands down one of the best open world games I've ever played. It has a fantastic story. It has a compelling world. It has some of the best freaking shooting, bar none. Like it pisses all over GTA for the gun combat in this game. It feels so much better. This game is. I mean, I've talked about it before. Obviously, reviewed it last year. It got some bad press. It didn't get like universally loved, but I can't help but give props to Hangar 13 for the bravery in its depiction of this time period in America, the most awful human beings. There's a bit where I was playing it where Nolan North's in this game as an absolutely disgusting, deplorable, southern racist Klans member. And I noticed it was him because, not because of his voice, but because it looked like Nolan North, right? Because it's done full, they've got full like mocap and performance capture in the cutscenes. And it looked like him. I'm like, shit, that's not enough. I barely could recognize the voice because it was so heavy with the southern drawl and the spitting, venomous uses of the N-word and the C-word and all this, which you don't expect Nolan North to say because you think of him as, you know, Uncharted, Nathan Drake and stuff. But it was a great performance. And then when I shot this dick in the face and then stabbed him in the chest, it felt really good. Like, this guy deserved that. And there's a lot of that in this game. Like, you are a violent sociopath in this. But at the same time, pretty much everyone you murder, they're worse. So it's cool. It's like totally deserved. And it's got a great twist in the storyline with a brilliant post-credit scene, which is, I think, has been all over the internet now. So most people already have heard about it, even if they've not played it, which is definitely sets up things potentially for a Mafia 4, which I would just love, like where that could go. But this is a great game that's been on sale multiple times, which you could pick up on Amazon, I'm sure, for like 20 quid easily right now. The DLC they've been putting out, I've only just scratched the surface on, but it seems to be substantial and well made. And the developers have really supported the game with numerous patches, all this DLC. It's a really cool experience. That I think the biggest problem people had was that it was lacking a lot of the kind of management features that Mafia 2 had, where you could do the minutiae of running like a criminal empire. It's not about that, though. This is very much a sort of a story-driven narrative focused around your character, Lincoln Clay. You know, this black man in the 60s, in the South, in America, and you know, the things he has to deal with. And it's flipping amazing. Like, it really transports you there. So you guys should both check it out. Highly recommend. But who wants to go first? God, well, my completion of the game probably, it's big. It's an open world game. It's got to be like 50, 60 hours, something like that. I've put into it. You know, I mean, I reviewed it at around the 30-hour mark. So I've done considerably more, and I've still got a ton of. I've still got 2 huge DLC episodes, and there's a third one that hasn't even come out yet to play.
Wow. That came out a long time ago, didn't it? And they're still releasing DLC.
These aren't little things. They're like big DLC things. Like the first one is a whole nother like county that's added onto the side of the city, which is more open, and it's all about like street racing, and like it's to do with like the cannabis being used in a big way, and it's to do with basically the attitudes of like small town sheriffs in that era. Like, you know, you think the cities were bad for persecution. Wait till you deal with this guy. And then the second episode is all to do with like set in Nam, where there's like the 2 main characters. There's Lincoln Clay and this guy called Donovan, who's like your handler, your helper, who's a CIA agent in Nam. That's where you go way back. And it's to do with dealing with the ghost of his past. And you go back to Nam. So there's this huge, you know, completely different environment they add for that. You know, because it's jungles and all this kind of crazy stuff. And then the third one that's about to come out is to do with the rise of this like Manson-esque cult in the city. So there's going to be loads of like black magic, and you're going to go on like these crazy drug trips. And I've seen the trailer for it, and it looks like it, you know, visual effects and stuff that, you know, you're tripping and while trying to deal with these bad guys and stuff. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I love the fact that you are a scumbag, though. That's what makes it so good. You're not a good person. You acknowledge you're not a good person. And the ending I chose, oh boy, was I not a good person. But you're like the best of what's available for this city. And the sort of summation is that the city doesn't deserve good. Like, the people here everybody is fucking awful. So it's like, you know, they get what they deserve. And I think it's great. A great way of dealing with the morality and the ethics and stuff of that time period. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's so good. I love it. Love it. Even the driving's good in an open world game. Add it to your list, Richard. Add it to your list.
I need to be unemployed and then I'll play it.
Fair enough. Give Teresa another few months and she'll sort you out.
I'm sure she will.
Richard, I see Battlefield 1 on your list.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
It was on sale, as discussed with you fine gentlemen.
Yep.
There was a sale for the Ultimate Edition for 50 quid or something. £49, I think I paid in the end.
Good deal.
After getting some cheap credit.
Well, considering the DLC is like 40 quid itself, isn't it? Like, that's very good.
Yeah. So I got the whole lot for less than 50. So it paid to wait. I've played multiplayer and the campaign in a limited capacity, enjoyed both just as much as I imagined I would. The campaign stuff's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Fantastic. I gave this game 5 stars last year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's the whole package is brilliant.
What did you think of the opening?
Yeah, good. I enjoyed the first proper chapter more. The opening kind of it makes you run through a series of deaths, doesn't it? And and tells you like these are the people that actually die in war, and kind of gives you the message that it's not all about one hero saves the world. Whatever you do, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
You know,
Ron Perlman could come on and go, "War is hell. War never changes."
It's literally
straight out of Fallout.
The hopelessness of being a soldier in the First World War, I thought, was captured very well in that opening sequence.
Yeah, it is. It is clever, and it doesn't tell you it's going to do that. It kind of launches you in and gives you the impression just on past experience, that it's going to be the same as anything else you've done. This is kind of a tutorial. It'll launch you into something quite easy to manage, to show you what the controls are if you've not played something like this before. But actually, no, it's just to teach you a lesson. This is war. You're going to die. There's nothing you can do about it. Get over it.
Mm.
And,
Which of the mini campaigns have you dabbled in?
The first one with the tank. Is it Bxb'S?
Yeah, Bxb'S.
Yeah.
Mm.
And even the tank has got character. How do they work that out? But yeah, you really shouldn't be able to characterize people in an FPS as well as they've done in this, in quite a short space of time as well. So I think the game is structured into 5 or 6 different stories, each of which has a series of levels.
Yeah, 5.
Has like a series of characters within each story that you follow, and within that short time, you start to care about them and empathize with who they are as individuals and as a team. And I just thought it really worked well. Gameplay wise, there's enough variety in there. It's not just the same old things that you're used to. It didn't feel like a retread of things I've played before, and I have played a fair amount of Battlefield games. So yeah, I'm impressed with that so far. And the multiplayer is exactly as good as I imagined it would be, having played lots of Battlefield 3 and 4.
Have you been playing
good or not?
Have you been playing the big maps? Have you been playing the 32 on 32? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's just like the emergent moments that will come out of that game where a plane will crash in front of you and kill a dude, and then you'll jump through the wreckage and shoot a guy off a horseback, and you're like, "What the fuck just happened?" Xbox record that. Yeah.
No, one thing you cannot do in that game in multiplayer is ever shoot anybody off horseback. I've never managed to do it. I've emptied bullets into these armored horses with such 6-inch thick hides, and they never. Even my aim is they're so tough. Every time I shoot,
that's why you're doing it. You're shooting the horse, Joel. You've got to shoot the guy.
No, you try shooting the rider. Now, obviously, my aim is going to be a bit of an issue here as well. I'm not denying that. But literally, as soon as I see people on horses when I play a multiplayer on that game, I tend to just turn and run now.
Yeah, that works too. You'll find killing someone on horseback if you're riding a horse is actually quite challenging as well. So, especially at the speed you're usually going, trying to hit someone with a sword as you go past them is not the easiest thing to do. I like to be a pain in the ass sniper in Battlefield 1. That's the class I've gravitated towards. Having a little perch somewhere and just being that dick, camping and just taking people out in the distance. Yeah, that's quite satisfying. Cool. So. But we should all get on and play that. Definitely, that is a fabulously good multiplayer game. Absolutely.
Because as we learned, we can. I haven't got the DLC and nor's Ben, but we can scrounge off Richard, can't we?
You can. So, yeah. I expect you to come knocking at my door soon. But yeah, that'll be fun. I think there's a 4K patch coming for it as well for when Xbox One X launches.
Excited about that. Still can't pre-order one yet though. Hurry up and get that sorted out, Microsoft. I want to pre-order my X. Indeed. Sort that shit out. Right, I'm going to go even further back in time with this one when I throw to Joel. Joel, you're also in one of the big wars of the last 100 or so years at the moment in this game, kind of, but also not. Tell us about Wolfenstein New Order, another game I love.
So this was I based off our conversation in the last podcast that we did actually, where you asked, we were talking about the new Colossus, and you're like, have you played the New Order? And I was like, yes, I played most of the first level, and
me and Richard looked at each other and went,
I left it.
Silly boy.
And you were just like, you've got to get past the first level. You've got to get past the first level. So I installed it again on my PC, and I played through the first level, and everything was playing out to my expectations in the sense that I thought, right, it starts off with you on these planes doing this assault on this Nazi base, and that the rest of the level, you've got this huge castle, and that the most of the game would play out as you go through the various levels and sections of this castle and stuff until you fight the end boss. And yeah, how wrong could I kind of been? I just didn't see the twist coming, and that's literally just you do the first level, that's the only level set in this castle, and then you wake up about 15 or 20 years later in a lunatic asylum in a wheelchair, and it plays off from there, and it's just like okay, and then you realize you're in this parallel universe where the Nazis won the war, and you go through it, and it was kind of thoroughly enjoyable. And I played through it straight in 2 days until I finished it. yeah, really enjoyed it. I did.
How on
certain
earth
bits
did
of
you
it.
not get? How on earth did you not get spoiled on this?
I don't
I'm
know.
amazed.
I have
That
no
is
idea.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Oh, before you continue as well, which one did you choose? What path did you go down?
Oh, so you mean the only choice you have to make in a game is which guy do you want to kill, right? And so I'm sat there just going, well, I'm not going to kill either of them, and then I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and I wait, and then they just kill me. And yeah, so in the end, I chose the guy who was already pretty injured. I can't remember his name, but one of them is already
the old guy or the young guy. The old guy or the young guy.
I think he was the old guy. I saved the Scottish guy, I think.
Yeah, that's what I did the first time as well.
The other guy was already quite injured, basically, and I was just like, well, you know, you may not make it anyway, so God, just choose him. But it was kind of harsh that I felt the game forced you to make that choice, because obviously the first thing I wanted to do is not make a choice. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pick either of you to die, and literally the game wouldn't let me. It then just killed me instead, so it's like I have to do it. So, and even the second time round, it was just like, oh, this is a tough decision. You know, in Mass Effect, it was quite easy. I think when you played the first Mass Effect and you had to choose one of the two characters to die, I didn't struggle as much as I did in this moment. So
well, because that decision was either Boy Scout or Space Nazi, which isn't really a hard decision in Mass Effect, is it? So, are you aware that your decision will dictate huge swathes of the game? That the game basically there are different missions and characters based on the decision you make. So you have to play it all again now.
No, I didn't know it. Sorry, I didn't know it made a difference to missions. I expected it would, because obviously you re-meet the character that you save later on in the game, and they have an important part. So I already assumed it would make a difference to characters.
There are other characters. There are other characters, not just that character. There's whole the game that different.
It has several knock-on effects.
Oh Jesus! I've already uninstalled it. I have to install it again.
Well, that's why I've gone back recently, because I've also dabbled. I haven't done much yet, but I'm planning on beating the game down the other story path. Because there's a Jimi fucking Hendrix. So cool. Is one of the characters you've not met because you picked the other way, and that's why I am going to play, because I picked the same choice as you first time, Joel, and I'm like, I've got to make Machine Games' take on Jimi Hendrix. That's brilliant. So. See, now you've got to do it. You know you've got to do it.
You know what's most annoying, actually, is that it was in the Xbox sale, last week. And even though I own the game, it would have been nice to play it on the Xbox, potentially, just to see how it contrasts with the controller and things. No, just to see the performance difference and things like that. And damn it, if I'd known that there was actually a reason significant like that to go back and play through it again, I could have done it. But oh well.
Yes. Oh well. Oh well. Now you know that's the thing. Come on, the Bxb'S Bits and Bobs. You're learning something new every day. That's what we do here. We educate, Joel. Everybody, not just you, everyone. It's great. It's great. I'm trying to decide the game. I don't think we're going to get through all the games on this list tonight, guys, because we've got lots of games, and I'm already cherry picking. But I have played quite a bit of Metro Last Light on Xbox One, which I actually realized when I started playing this again. I don't think I ever played this game. Like I thought I'd played it on 360. Yeah, I thought I'd played it on 360 Last Light, but I don't think I did. If I did, it was the very, very beginning, and I never actually played
it on PS3, maybe, because it was on
maybe
PlayStation Plus.
I mean, it's possible, but I definitely hadn't got past the bit escaping right at the beginning from the prison, from the gulag. I'd never done that. I got past that, so it's all new to me now. I had to stop to do some reviews and holidays and stuff like that, but no, I'm definitely going to go back to it. Oh, god damn it, those games are good. Like, they're so different. The vibe you get from them is so unlike anything else you played. Like,
that was in the sale as well, Joel. You should have picked it up.
I spent a lot of money, because it's probably worth. At the same time, there was the Steam sale, the Xbox summer sale, and the PSN sale, and it's just like, oh god, my wallet's just been assassinated, like from all angles.
Yep.
Yes, but no, that game is really good. It's like they refined all the elements of the previous game, and it's just a really different experience. I can't wait for the new one. That's going to be amazing on the X and on a good PC rig. That game will look and play probably stunning. And I just find that your character, the characterization is really good. I love it when you escape from that prison with that guy and he betrays you, but you can kind of be like, oh no, I sort of see why. That's fair it is. And there's like respect between you, but I love all their take on like this sort of the take on the Russian extremists, but they're kind of just, and then there are Nazis, but they don't call them Nazis in this as well because of the Eastern European game. So it's like, you know, they need to sell it to Germany. So they can't be calling them Nazis in the game. There's no swastikas, but they're Nazis, just so you know. So it's like, yeah, there's some great fractions in it, and there's lots of. I really like the weapons in the game. There's lots of like customization you can do to them, and they feel really good. And then there's the whole gas mask mechanic. Yeah, like I love the whole. I was looking. You know how you can look on a game hub on Xbox and see the stats. I was like the amount of like the military grade bullets you shot, Richard. I was like, dude, I'm saving all them. What are you doing shooting military grade bullets? They're like currency, man. What are you doing? What are you doing? I was amazed you fired so many of them.
I think that's because I've gone multiple playthroughs and you get a different ending if you use them.
Oh, okay. Well, like a lot. You have to use a lot of them or something?
Yeah, like if you just ruin your playthrough and just use a load of those bullets, then you get a bad ending, I think. Or you get a better ending if you find more of them. Yeah, I certainly I'm the same sort of player. I would want to save those given the choice. So on a proper playthrough, I wouldn't have used them. I think that's probably one of my second or third playthroughs. I've just tried them out.
Sometimes though, you just got to put a lot of bullets into a Nazi to make sure they're dead.
Yeah,
that's just. I mean, Joel knows that from Wolfenstein when he's dual wielding auto shotguns.
Yeah,
you know, you just got to kill some Nazi.
You have to put a lot of bullets into Nazis in that game. That was going to be one of the
armored ones.
Yeah, just even the standard ones seem to be able to take it quite well.
Well, you got to aim for the head, Joel. You're not good at this shooting thing, are you? Like aim for the head and they'll go down. On the horse, shoot the guy.
Aiming at the horse again. That was my problem.
Yeah. Stop aiming for the freaking horse. Richard, then, what brought you back to Deus Ex?
I never played it. That was another one in the sale. It was like £18 for the version with the season pass and everything. So that was a deal I had to buy.
How much have you played?
I've played probably about 10 hours. Not enough to enough to thoroughly explore that first city. What is it? You're in Ukraine or something, aren't you?
Prague.
Is it Prague? Right. Okay. Shows how much attention I paid.
Also, Richard, thoroughly explore that first city. No, thoroughly explore the only city.
No, you go to other bits, don't you?
Nope.
Well, there's a bit it's prompting me to go to.
You go on missions, but you always come back to Prague.
Okay, so
which is one of the most disappointing fucking things about that game, to be honest.
I'm surprised. I assumed it had followed the same pattern as the first because you went to different cities in that, didn't you? Okay, so
I was really disappointed by that sequel. Like, really disappointed. I mean, it's still a fairly good game, but there's just so little ambition, and the scope of it is pulled back so much further than the first one.
That feels quite small then, because I was enjoying the city for what it was, thinking this is just the first hub. I'll clear this out. But actually, if I've got to go back there, there isn't a whole lot for me to go back to. I've pretty much done everything in it.
I mean, let me tell you. I'll give you a small. Can I give you a small spoiler that doesn't really matter? I'll tell you how they modify it. Right. So when you go and come back the first time, it's nighttime when you come back, and when you go and come back the second time, there are hostiles and it's nighttime. Okay,
but there's
still the same place.
No structural difference to what's there. And
it's not that interesting. That's the problem I had with it. I have no issue with like it, you know, if they're only going to have one hub and modify it, but it isn't that interesting of an environment. I really found it kind of. I mean, I get that it fits the tone. You know, it's meant to be it's this city that was, welcoming all the augments. And then when that thing happened at the end of the first game, they all went rogue and they murdered a lot of people. So there's a lot of resentment and tension. Again, it's trying to do some interesting thing with like almost a racial allegory, but it's the augment thing instead. And, you know, if you remember, they coined the really dodgy term when they promoted this game, which was mechanical apartheid. Probably shouldn't have evoked that one, guys. Just saying, you didn't really earn that term, did you? Did you, Square? Do you think? No, you didn't. They didn't let that one fly. I think the internet pretty much ate your face on that one.
I heard a lot about that when it came out, but playing the game, I don't feel it's anywhere near as heavy-handed as. Well,
but that's the problem. That's why they should never have used those words, because they don't earn it in the game, because they don't really deal with the implied sort of persecution that the augments are getting. Like they don't really deal with it.
The game doesn't push it that hard either. I mean, it doesn't.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Push that angle either. It's just the marketing made it sort of overplayed its hand in that way.
But it's like if the game had pushed it harder, if they had been willing to actually face up to the political, ethical, morality of that situation, then it'd be like, yeah, fucking use that terminology because you've gone for it. So it's just like instead, it's just insulting and it's just sort of like flippant, which is a real shame because that's the game. Ah man, that game was a letdown. Like it really was. But I hope you get some enjoyment from it. But
maybe that's why I'm enjoying it because I wasn't unaware of that. Well, I say 18 quid. I wasn't unaware of that sort of viewpoint of the game. That's quite a popular one. So I wasn't expecting a great deal going in. I just thought, well, it's cheap. I like the look of it. And my expectations aren't high, so I'll probably get something out of it. And I have enjoyed it so far, so I will stick with it, I think.
I think, Joel, I'm going to give you one last choice because I'm curious on both of these, but we don't want to run too long. So either tell me about your thoughts of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare or Horizon Zero Dawn.
I could probably sum them both up very quickly, actually. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare I picked up pretty cheap. Went through it. Yeah, it was kind of a fun sci-fi epic. I quite enjoyed the story. Gameplay was very much COD, but it had some kind of coolish moments in it. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I didn't think it was that bad. I enjoyed it more than I think other sort of more grounded in reality Call of Duty games. The other one, obviously, Horizon Zero Dawn. I've only really just got going on that, but I got that when I bought a PS4 Pro as well, and I've got that now hooked up to my 4K. So I've been playing that in 4K HDR, obviously, and it does look incredible. So yeah, I've passed I'm still kind of in the initial first part of the world, just doing some exploration and stuff, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying it so far.
Are you in the proper open world, or are you still in the like trials-y bit?
No, I guess the trialsy bit still. So I'm on my way to do the passing, I think it is. So I'm building up to that. Just doing my first series of quests.
You haven't seen anything yet, John.
Wow. So okay, yeah. Well, I'm enjoying it, and I'm chipping away at it when I can. So, yeah.
That's the problem that game has, actually. It's a slow start, and it's kind of like the tutorial world it keeps you in at the start. It goes on too long, and they should dump you into that open area quick. It's kind of the same problem The Witcher 3 had. Like it implies that you should stay in that first area a lot longer than you really should. You should get out into the open world as quickly as you can. You can always go back, but get through the passing thing, get out there and see the world. Because by the time I actually got there, I was kind of like a bit like, so what's so great about this then, other than it looks pretty? But I keep meaning to go back.
On the other hand, that hand holding in the first few hours, it makes you feel a bit cozy, doesn't it? And comfortable. But the
I see what you're saying.
Pulling the rug out from under you a bit later on, which you won't have seen yet, Joel. So it serves its purpose, but I know what you mean.
No, that's a good point. Maybe it's probably very much intentional. To create that narrative moment. Yeah. Okay. No, I get you. That makes sense too. The last game I want to throw out there, it's just a little one that I think most people are going to have overlooked, and that's Butcher. Now, God, I played this and reviewed this ages ago, and I think I briefly talked about it on a bonus babble, but this is this 2D side-on Doom, basically. You play as a cyborg sent to Earth to eradicate the last vestiges of humanity. And you're going to do this with shotguns, machine guns, and as much gore as you can possibly muster. The screen will be drenched in dripping blood. It's fucking glorious. It's quite challenging. It has very quick respawns. It's one of those games where when I saw screenshots of it, I went, oh, God, am I really going to play this? It's just brown and gray and red and muddy in it. But when you actually get it in motion, there's kind of like a poetry to it. There's a great fluidity to the controls and to the movement. It runs buttery smooth. And when you're killing the enemies and their bits are flying all over and painting the walls with red, it just brings you back to those days playing Doom originally on the PC with the those Gore was nowhere near as impressive, then maybe you're playing the brutal Doom mod, which is, by the way, a fantastic way of playing the original Doom and Doom 2. But yeah, Butcher is just, it's got a cool techno sort of industrial soundtrack that goes with these visuals. And the environments are actually quite varied, even though they won't be when you're done with them because they'll all be red. But that's why it's awesome. So I definitely recommend Butcher. If you're looking for a nasty, violent, gory, sort of action, side-scrolling shooter, it's really good fun. So that's my last little recommendation for the day. We've still got so many games on our list here, but there is no way we are going to touch upon them all today. That's just an impossible task, and I know we've been striving. I've strived today, guys, to keep us closer to 90 minutes than over 2 hours. So I hope you appreciate that. I hope everyone appreciates that.
Well, we're close.
We are close.
100 minutes.
We're a little bit over, but I thought we could do our best. I'm going to do some pimping now. Obviously, guys, get over to bxbgames.co.uk. We definitely appreciate, we want your visit. We want your patronage. We want you coming over and checking out our amazing reviews. Joel's been doing a great job putting up loads of great written content now. Richard, I'm sure, will write something one day.
I'm still trying to snag this Tiny Tracks thing.
Well, let me know if you want me to, we talked about that, but we should probably do that behind the scenes. But yeah, I'm sure we can sort that out for you. But yeah, go to the site, go to bxbgames.co.uk, check out all the content, the written stuff, check out my videos. You can also find them on. We've got a YouTube channel. I don't always pimp the YouTube channel. I pimp the site instead. But yeah, funnily enough, it's /BXBGames like everything else. Facebook /BXBGames. Twitter is BXBGames. I'm also at DIYE on Twitter, and Richard is at Colonel Red. Get over to iTunes while you're at it. While you're doing all of these things, go over to iTunes and leave us a review. That would really help with visibility. And it's not just helping us three. There's a team here at BXB Games. There's Adam, there's Rob, there's Stephen, there's Cameron. Have I forgotten anyone, Richard?
If you have, I have.
Cool. I don't think I have. That's good. I actually remembered Stephen this time, so he won't send me hate mail over Facebook. So that's great. So look, we're doing stuff. There's always going to be stuff. Next week, there will be a bonus babble from myself. In 2 weeks, there will be another Bits and Bobs. We should be back on schedule now. I don't foresee many more delays. We're going to have things like the Destiny 2 beta to talk about in a couple of weeks' time. There's not a lot of big games right now, but it won't be long, and we'll be inundated with shit to talk about. Trust me. August, I think there's some titles coming out, and then before you know it, will be in September and October, where there'll be a title or two every week. So trust me, there's going to be stuff and a reason to stay tuned to BXB Games. Anything you guys wanted to add here in the final moments of the episode?
Yeah, my final shout out to the Summer Games Done Quick, or the Awesome Games Done Quick guys who raised 1.8 million in their week of speed runs for the I've forgotten the charity's name. It's the one with the doctors without mobile doctors, flying doctors things, Doctors Without Borders. So yeah, big shout out to them. Excellent job again. That's a huge sum of money.
I think they should be called Doctors with Wings. I like the idea. Can they have like those like squirrel suits? They can just come
doctors,
in
like that 80s.
Oh, flying doctors! Shit, I thought that a long time. Anybody you'd like to pimp or thank, Richard, like you were doing an Oscar speech? I don't know. I'm open to anything here.
Shout out to my dog who's been ill. You can hear he's probably recovered by the sounds of it.
What was wrong with Frank?
He had massive back problems. He's not been able to walk for 2 days, so I took him to the vet today. And got him an injection. He seems fine for the moment. So think of Frank.
Love to Frank. We love the pets here at Bxb Games. Much love. So I think with that slightly sad but optimistic ending to the episode, we shall call it a close on episode 28 of Bxb's Bits and Bobs. See you in a couple of weeks, y'all. Bye-bye.
Yo,
bye.